there, welcome back to my channel. This video is going to be my M.R.I experience, and if I keep looking down, it's because I wrote a couple of notes of things to remember while making this video. So let me just start out. I'm 21 years old and I've been suffering from a medical condition for about a year as of this month. So I've had my medical condition since May of 2014 and it's now May 2015. And about 2 weeks ago, I finally had my MRI. And before that, I was a little terrified to have it done because I've heard so much bad stuff about it and people freaking out about it and just like horror stories. If you type in M.R.I Experience on YouTube, you're just going to find a lot of negative, scary stuff. But I'm going to share my experience with you today. Alright, let's start from the beginning. Okay, the first thing to know is the night before your MRI, you should drink plenty of water so your veins will be open because they're going to have to draw blood when you get there. I understand if you're afraid of needles, but it's really important so they can take your blood so they can check to make sure the contrast will not affect your liver if you're going to be having contrast. And another thing too, if you're afraid of needles, you will have an IV in while you're having your MRI if you're having contrast. I myself am terrified of needles. Like I have like a needle phobia. That's like the number one thing that I am terrified of when it comes to doctor's visits is the needles. As long as you drink water the night before, you should be fine. Okay, as far as my story goes, my appointment was it was supposed to be at like 3:30 in the afternoon. So I decided that day, I was like, I'm not going to drink anything because I don't want to have to go use the restroom while I'm in the machine. Because when you're in the machine, you cannot move at all or you have to start the process over again. And MRIs are extremely expensive if your insurance hasn't covered it all the way. So I wanted to be 100% sure I wasn't going to have to go to the restroom during my MRI. So I didn't drink anything at all that day. And I was just going to try and go in and get it over with. So I get there not expecting them to have to take blood or anything. They're like, alright, let's go back and take your blood. Me terrified. They go to try and take my blood and they can't. Okay, so what first happened when I got there was I signed in and gave them all my patient information. And then about 10 minutes later, they went ahead and called me back. And they sent me to a room and gave me some scrubs and a locker. And what you do is you change into your scrubs and you put all of your clothes, your belongings and whatnot into the locker. And then you're given like a little keychain to put on your wrist to make sure all your belongings are safe. And another thing that you're going to make sure before is you don't want to have any metal on you at all. No jewelry, no accidental clothing, no hair ties that have metal in them. Nothing. And also if you have anything metal inside of your body, you're going to make sure to tell them about that because the machine is basically a big magnet and you cannot have any metal at all. So that's a big thing to know. So I went in and got changed, and then after changing into my scrubs, we went straight to the lab, I guess, and had my blood drawn. And since I didn't drink anything the entire day, it was horrible for them to get blood out of me. Like, I already have problems when they're trying to get blood out of me as it is. Like, they always have to go through the hand, and they had to go through the hand again. And luckily, the other guy, it was two different guys that had to try on me. Luckily, the other guy, he found it on the first prick in the hand. So, my honest opinion is that the hand hurts less. My honest opinion is that the hand hurts less, even though they say it's more because it has more nerve endings. It's just a personal preference. I don't like the thought of a needle going into my arm, so I would rather have it go into my hand. So anyways, they finally, they took my blood from my arm, and then they had to go back through the hand to put the IV in so they could put the contrast in it, and they finally got the IV in. And then they went ahead and took me into the MRI room, and the way that it basically is you go back and then there's the MRI, and it's very loud. It makes a lot of noise. So that's one big thing to know about it beforehand. And don't be scared about the noise. There's no way that you can get hurt inside this machine. It's completely safe. And another thing to think about, also if you're claustrophobic, just know that it's important to have this procedure done. If it's something you really need, if you need to have it done, just go ahead and get through it and get it over with so you don't have to do it again. Okay, so how my procedure went is the guy walked me in the room and placed me on the table, and they gave me like a pillow wedge thing for under my legs so I wouldn't move. So they put the pillow under your legs so you won't move, and they ask you if you want a blanket, and I decided I didn't want a blanket because I already had on the scrub suit. And then after that, I had to have a head MRI. So they put like this cage thing on around your head, and I guess it just basically it locks in place so your head won't move as much, so they can get better pictures, and it doesn't hurt. You can't feel it at all. Okay, on to why it could be scary. It wasn't anything that I expected at all. I was expecting it to be like going inside an uncomfortable tube and it being really dark. It was not like that at all. This was how it was for me. When I went into the tube, it kind of felt like it just got really small, and it kind of felt like it suction cupped to your body. That's how it felt to me. And this tube was actually lighted. It wasn't dark in there, but the cage that I had around me, it had like holes in it where you could like see out, but I couldn't really see out of it. Like I couldn't tell what part was the cage and what part was the tube because the way the lighting was. But that didn't bother me. I just had my eyes closed for most of the time anyway, so I wouldn't move. But so I guess the scary part for most people is that it feels like it's... Are you gonna keep messing around the whole video? Okay, the scary part is that it feels like it's holding you really tightly, and the MRI machine is extremely loud, and it's going to make a ton of scary, crazy noises. Some of the noises are really relaxing, and then sometimes out of nowhere when the relaxing noise is happening, the really like scary thumping, beating noise happens, and you're not going to get hurt at all during this entire process. You're not going to feel any pain at all, and whoever is your MRI technician is going to be communicating with you through the entire time. And they're gonna come over an intercom and ask you different questions, and you are allowed to respond to them. Just make sure you don't move your body. Another thing to think about is they're gonna give you a ball to squeeze, like if you're scared or something. For me, I didn't want to hold the ball at all. It was like getting in my way, and it was making me uncomfortable. So when he came back on and asked if I was okay, I was like, can I let go of the ball? Can I move my hands? He was like, sure, go ahead and move your hands and get comfortable before we start the next section. And as far as the ball, he was like, you need to make sure you have it on you just in case if you need it. And I was just like, okay. And then right after he said that, I just went ahead and dropped the ball because it was getting on my nerves, and it was like cramping up my hand, and it was making me feel like I needed to move my hands and arms. So I just dropped the ball because I know I didn't need it. When I was in there, I did feel like a warm sensation, and I kind of felt like a little bit like of a burning feeling, but not in a bad way. Like it didn't hurt. And I'm not sure if it was from the dye, the contrast dye, or if it was from the machine itself like warming up, but you don't get hurt in the machine at all. The worst thing about the entire process is just having to sit still. Like you have to be very careful inside the machine. You can't be shaking around, you can't move your head certain ways. You have to be very careful when you're breathing. You have to breathe very slowly to the point where you're not shaking your head. I just became aware of a bunch of stuff that I was doing inside the machine. Like I was trying to stay as still as possible, and then I would have to swallow, and I could feel like my saliva going down my throat and like my jaw moving.
If there's one thing that you should do is